Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lair. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Work It, Live It, Own It. This is your hostess, SaCola Lair, and I am thrilled to have my former real estate mentor in the house, Rebeca Bradley, joining us today.
Hello.
Hey. So in this episode, we're going to dive into the invaluable role of mentoring and coaching in the realm of entrepreneurship. Now, Rebeca, I invited her along because I want her to tell you about some of her personal insights as a mentor, some of her experiences that she's had in her entrepreneurial journey, and the profound impact mentoring has had on her own personal journey as a successful business owner. So get ready to gain some valuable insight and perspective on the importance of mentoring in achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Let's dive in. Rebeca, it is so good to see you, even though it's not face to face. It's
I know. It's so great to be here, SaCola. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. So, Rebeca, the first thing I want my audience and the Work It, Live It, Own It community to know is, first of all, how long have you been a business owner?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So personally, myself, I have been a business owner for roughly about 10 years. My husband also is a business owner. So we have been in business with his business since roughly 2006. So it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And that's you got some time in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you share with us a little bit about your experience with mentoring and coaching as a business owner?
So I think for me, it started in my very young years. I, from a very young age, started working with a development company. I was raised with parents who were also business owners. And so went to work with this developer from the age of 16. And when I was there, one of the project managers kind of took me under their wing and really invested their time and their energy and their efforts in coaching me to just learn about the industry, learn the ins and outs of work life, if you will, right? And from there, later on in my 20s, had the same kind of experience. Went to go work for a family friend, again, also in the development realm. And again, just tons of time, energy, and effort in making sure that my questions were answered, that, I was experiencing all of the different facets of what the business entailed. And just making sure that I was prepared when I was having conversations with our clientele, with our vendor reps, that I knew what I was talking about, right? And that I was knowledgeable. And so for me, it just kind of sparked this inherent just desire to make sure that anytime I transitioned into something, that I would make myself available for the folks coming in under me that would need that guidance and that help.
Okay, love it. What led you or what inspired you to become a mentor in the real estate industry? Because that can be a whole business in
That
itself.
Yeah, that is absolutely. I mean, there is definitely a space for that to even be its own business model, if you will, right? Yes. There are so many intricacies when it comes to real estate. There are so many laws that we have to follow. There's so many processes and regulations that we need to be mindful of, not just to protect ourselves, but to protect our clients and to educate our clients in the process of either selling a home or buying a home, or leasing commercial space, or buying commercial space, selling commercial space. And again, for me, it was just, there was a need that I could see that was not being met by the traditional brokerage. And it entailed folks that have the industry experience to come in and start helping some of these newer agents that are coming in that are flying blind, right? We have great training programs with several places that will teach you the intricacies of, forms and regulations and, your paperwork and what that transaction kind of flows like. But it doesn't go into real life experiences. We don't have the time when we're taking those classes to talk about every scenario that's possible because, as we like to say, every transaction is different. We literally learn something new every time, right? So it's a very daunting and scary environment to be in as a brand new agent if you've never had any type of experience, whether that's personally buying a home, personally selling a home, experiencing your parents do it, your grandparents do that. And there's just so many questions, right? And so seeing the need motivated the desire to say, listen, we need to do better. We need to do better. We need to be able to give new agents that are coming into the industry a leg up and set them up for success. I think too many times we see agents come in, they have the drive, they have the motivation, and then they hit a roadblock, and before you know it, they're out. And I think it's a shame. I mean, we go through a lot of trouble going through schooling and getting licensed and certified and all of these things that, takes a great deal of money and time investment. And, some people just, they don't feel prepared and just can't make it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you know my story, my
Yeah.
backstory. The whole thing, I've shared my backstory with the Work and Live It Own It community.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, I was in real estate for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a total of six mentors.
Mm-hmm.
No, make that seven mentors, and I got passed around like a frisbee.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not, and I don't know, one of my family members says that I am very tenacious. And I guess because you're right, a lot of people was just like, you know what, I'm not getting the support I need, or there
Right.
were questions that I would ask specifically. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you guys, because we have some realtors that do listen in. But say, for example, even in business, you have a specific question and you say, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, if I meet with a client and the client asks me, well, what is your advice on this particular piece? There was something missing. And guys, after 7 mentors that I had,
Mm-hmm.
when I got with Rebecca, and here was the question. It was, okay, I'm out and about with my clients, and my clients in the market that we were in during the pandemic. Typical question that a buyer client would ask is what do you think we should go in at?
Mm-hmm.
Well, based on the comps, this is what I think it could appraise for. I
Mm-hmm.
could not answer that definitively because even though I ran the comps, I needed something else. There was a piece missing.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a whole wide range
Mm-hmm.
of a scenario there. And so I asked several mentors that question. And they said, well, you put it back in the client's court, whatever they feel comfortable with. But okay, if they're a first time home buyer, I was in their shoes. I need a little bit of guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, let me tell you, Rebecca was the only one that answered that question. And then she gave me a calculation on how to do it. I was like, that's my mentor. That's right there. Right there. I need, and you know what? I have it saved on my phone. I have it in
Nice.
notebooks because if I ever need to pull out that I'm like, what's that calculation again? Let me go ahead and do these numbers real quick. So then, because sometimes you're in the car and you're just going, and
Yeah.
even though you pull the comps, I'll even have it written out. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I will still send them to Rebecca and go, she's not my official mentor anymore, guys. But sometimes I'll still send a snapshot. I'm like, oh, my number's off. I want to make sure because the
Yeah.
last thing you ever want to do is go out here and you're working with a client. And I was an English teacher. I wasn't a math teacher, but I want to make sure my calculations are right. I want to make sure they're in the ballpark, close to the
Yeah.
ballpark, and then say, this is still,
Yeah.
I think it may appraise for, but then this is what you you can go in at what you feel comfortable with.
Right.
So, guys, that was just a, I hate to go on a tangent, but that was just a real deal to let you know she's an excellent real estate mentor. So, from
Thank you.
your
Thank you.
perspective, welcome. So, from your perspective, though, how did having a mentor contribute? Like you said, you've had people for years when your parents were running businesses to show
Mm-hmm.
you this, how to, you've had decades basically
Right.
of hands-on experience of how mentoring can contribute to personal professional
Mm-hmm.
success. But from your perspective, what do you think are some key benefits of having a mentor or coach as a business owner?
So as a business owner, right, like at the end of the day,
Mhm.
depending on what industry you're in, you're trying to see results. You're trying to see in a sales environment, you're trying to see production numbers. Depending on your business model and what you're looking for, you're always constantly looking for the things that are going to make your business grow. There's no reason to be in business if you're not going to be able to create some sort of environment of longevity and growth and stability, right? So from a business perspective, what we have noticed and realized is, especially in the real estate world, when you take the time to nurture these new agents coming in, really give them hands-on experience, give them someone in their corner that is going to make them feel confident when they're out there in the general public, answering questions, doing showings, providing listing presentations, all of those things. We What we end up seeing is we see a faster turn in production for those agents. They start producing, much quicker than an agent that's just kind of flying blind on their own. We start to see that they start creating business models, right, that work for them. As real estate agents, we are independent. We're not employees. And so, not everyone has to run their business the same way. We encourage that everyone find the niche that they like and care for, and really develop that, create marketing plans, create business plans, create business models that work for them, that are tailored around their needs, their family's needs, their growth potential, their goals. And and the other thing is we're seeing the longevity, right? They're able to start producing, they're able to start growing their business. And so they start creating a name for themselves in the industry and in their community. And we clearly encourage everyone to get involved with their community when they're in this process. But everybody's going to do it a little differently every single time. And so we take the time to do those things because we want to see people succeed. And again, if you're a broker in charge of a brokerage that is taking the time to bring in agents that are inexperienced in real estate, you would want them to sell. so,
Right.
so that's our goal, and we try to do that as quickly as we can.
Right. Got
Mm-hmm.
you. So, besides having the patience, compassion, understanding, because you're going
Mm-hmm.
to need some patience as
Mm-hmm.
well, what
Mm-hmm.
other qualities do you think or believe would make a great mentor or coach?
So communication is absolutely key. We have to be able to be good listeners. We have to be able to understand different perspectives. We need to be able to understand different personality types and receive the information, depending on who the source is, and then be able to clearly and effectively communicate whatever the need may be, right? Whatever their questions may be, to answer them clearly and concise, provide them solutions if there's an issue that has arisen, help them think outside the box a little bit, and start developing their sense of processing information, so that way they can effectively do their job, right? So communication is key. But communication isn't just speaking. We have to do a lot of listening, and we have to do a lot of understanding.
Right. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big proponent of active listening
Mm-hmm.
and slow about speaking, and,
Correct.
and then knowing how to guide from
Correct.
that point.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So, how can business owners find the right mentor or coach for their needs? Because people sound great, and let me tell
Hmm.
you, I've lost money, and I'm pretty sure the listeners out there can feel this, feel this
Hmm.
exasperation coming from me right
Right.
now. They may have lost money,
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
resources
Hmm.
that they cannot get back. You can always make more money, but your time, you cannot
Correct.
get back. So, how can a business owner find the right coach or mentor for their needs? What would you advise for them to look for? Any particular questions that they need to ask? What would you say?
So I think it's kind of dependent on whatever the industry is that they're in. So, one of the key things for real estate specifically is obviously just the knowledge base, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
the regulations, the laws, the processes, all of the things that we need to be mindful of. But above and beyond that, with I think any industry, I think you just need to pay attention to, what their experiences are. Um, Pay attention to their knowledge base and does it pertain to your industry? Um, Lots of people can motivate and encourage, right? But that doesn't mean that, for me, for one, like let's just use an example, for the fitness industry. I wouldn't know what's required. I wouldn't know, what certifications are available. I wouldn't know what knowledge base they need to know in order to effectively do that job, right? So I shouldn't be speaking on those things. I can speak all day long about organization and administrative skill set and all of those things, because that's also a part of my background. But finding someone that knows your industry, finding someone that also is willing to listen to what your needs are and can convey to you an effective business plan that will help you reach that goal, right? Again, we can speak on all kinds of topics, and some things are generalized, but there are going to be specific marketing tactics, specific, you know, it could be a hiring thing, right? Hiring the right staffing to do the job, and what would that take? And just really, again, understanding what the end goal is to meet that expectation. If someone's not asking you what your goals are, if someone's not asking you down to the nitty gritty, for example, in real estate, one of my questions is what's your goal for the first year? And I kind of leave it open ended because I want to see how they answer me. Some folks are like, oh, well, I want to make X number of dollars a year, or, oh, I want to sell this many houses in a year, or I want to sell this many houses per month. We need to break it down. It's much more than that. And so if the person on the other end is asking you all of the right questions to give you a clear roadmap of what it's going to take to get you to that goal, then I think you're probably working with the right person. If they're not able to provide you a clear, concise guide on how to get there, they're probably not the right fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, how would you, for those who are saying, okay, mentoring, having coaches that cost money,
Mm-hmm.
which it does,
Mm-hmm.
in your opinion, though, outside of the monetary piece, how does mentoring and coaching contribute to the overall success of a business? I know you were saying give them a clear
Mm-hmm.
roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
So providing a clear roadmap, right? Providing a set of tasks, if you will, providing a set of expectations moving forward, providing materials that they can reference later on down the road. All of these things are going to allow for continued growth, right? So they're giving you a toolkit, if you will. They're giving you the tools that you're going to need so that way when they're no longer there, you can go back to your toolkit and you can pull out whatever you need in the moment, right?
Right.
So it's knowledge, it's practical things. When we create marketing plans, it's I want you to come up with a 12-month plan, and I want you to tell me what items you're going to be, incorporating every month. Let's create those templates for all of those items. Let's find the resource that's going to get you what you need. So when I'm gone, right, you still have that.
Right.
You're not going to need me forever. Some people like to joke around and say they
Oh,
do, but you really don't.
right.
And so again, it's just providing the added value of being able to leave something behind, being able to leave someone prepared to move on. I tell everybody, especially, with the real estate mentorship program, the way that we have it set up currently, it is an investment. Yes. It's an investment that luckily you don't have to pay out of pocket for until you get to your closings. However, it's temporary. It's just 3 transactions, right? So if you can find the value in investing through those 3 transactions, key things that you're going to need to know forever and ever and ever, the investment is nominal, right? 3 transactions versus you potentially producing 20 in a year, it's a blip in time. And so it's again preparing them for the future and preparing them to be independent.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you can't hold on to Rebecca forever as much as you may want to.
Right.
We all need that little motivator or
Mm-hmm.
the practical stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what I can say about Rebecca. That was the one thing. And I think sometimes you have to go through those episodes of not getting what you really need to
Mm-hmm.
recognize what you need
Mm-hmm.
or what you value in a mentor or coach. So
Mm-hmm.
don't beat yourself up if
Mm-hmm.
you've worked and signed up with mentors and coaches in the past
Right.
and they haven't worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Take those as learning lessons and saying,
Correct.
okay, during this particular interaction, this is what I asked for, this is what I received, but this is what I'm really looking for. And so, for me personally, I pray for insight, wisdom, and discernment. So when it happens, I
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, there it is. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I know. Or your intuition, your gut, whatever it is that you
Right.
rely upon.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us a memorable experience or a success story related to mentoring and coaching
Mm-hmm.
someone in your business or in their business journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So um, I have plenty of stories I could probably share all day long. But I think one of the most memorable for me, and I won't share any names in particular at this point, but I worked with someone who was coming out of education. They had been a stay-at-home mom for a very long time. When they went back to work, they decided to go into the field of education. They were a teacher's assistant for many, many years. And they just didn't know. They didn't know if they had the capacity to actually do this, right? Um, they made it through classes. They passed their exams. They got licensed. So they obviously had the capability of retaining that knowledge, right? And so it was just a matter of focus, a matter of creating a plan, accountability to that plan, and and believing in herself. And so she is now in the top 2% of producers in this area. And she went through our program less than 4 years ago. And so her very first transaction, I will not forget, um, probably took about an hour and a half, maybe 2, to get just through the paperwork, the initial, agency documents and all of those things, because, technology was not her forte, and we're all moving towards this era of technology. We stuck through it, we got through it. All the questions were answered. Everything was prepped, and very little effort was made to be able to get this client under contract. And just the sheer joy that she experienced when she was able to get her first contract is something I'll never forget, because she just really truly didn't feel like she could. And I absolutely believe that everybody can.
Right.
If they're prepared the right way to be able to make that happen. So, like I said, she's now amongst the top 2% producing agents in this area. So very proud.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to thank you because you actually went on two of my listing appointments. And the first one, the first one I really had, and I had a former mentor go on it with me, but it was like I was friends with the seller, and they
Mm-hmm.
were just like, "Look, I just need you to walk around." They've been through this rodeo before, so it wasn't really like an actual true listing appointment.
Yeah.
But my first true one, I drove 2 hours. I don't know if you remember that. I drove 2 hours,
Yep.
got in the car with you. We went to the listing appointment, and English was not their first language.
Right.
But you got in the car with me. I did it, and I was so nervous because it was like first one. And the second one I had, you went with me on that one. I
Yeah,
think you drove on an hour
I did.
to meet me to do that one. I don't think Rebecca would do that for everybody, but if she had to, she would.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure, coming from an educator's background, I don't like
Mhm.
standing in front of people talking about something I'm not comfortable with.
Correct.
It's not something I've done more than once or
Mm-hmm.
twice, and you were there. So I want to personally thank you for that. Put it out to the masses and say thank you, Rebecca Bradley, for
It
doing
was
that, because
definitely my pleasure.
when I showed up for my third official listing appointment, I went by myself,
Yep.
and it was more than one seller. It was three sellers,
Uh-huh.
and I got the listing.
Yep.
Oh, and I was like, oh, I did it.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And then the funny thing was when I asked them, I said, okay, so when would you like for your home to get on the market? It was like ASAP,
Yeah, like yesterday.
like yesterday. So, yes,
Yeah.
mentoring and finding the right mentor,
Yeah.
the right coach
Mm-hmm.
is insurmountable. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, it may be a little uncomfortable coming from your
Mm-hmm.
pocket eventually, especially in real estate, because
Mm-hmm.
with real estate, you don't get the mentor doesn't get paid until once
Right.
everything has been settled and closed. But for some, mentoring and business coaches may look different. You're paying a
Right.
monthly fee,
Right.
so it may look different for that. So you want to see tangible results. Well, Rebecca, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about these things with us. But before I let you go, I have two rapid fire questions for you.
Sure. Oh goodness.
You should have known this. If you listen to the podcast, you should know
I
I'm
know.
going to
I know.
ask
I know.
rapid
I know.
fire
It's okay. It's okay.
questions. You just don't know what I'm going to ask, right?
Exactly.
I'll keep it simple for you. All right. So if you could have dinner with any historical figure,
Oh
who would it
goodness.
be and why?
Oh wow. With any historical figure, I think. Wow, that's a hard one. Actually, I would do it with Harriet Tubman.
Oh, why?
And I'll tell you why. Because the spirit of giving of oneself, right, is a difficult one, right? To serve people and to help them for their best interest, not necessarily your own, is a challenge. That is not something that is a typical quality in most people. And so to speak to someone like that, who just willingly gave and gave and gave and put herself at risk through all of those times, um, again, just somebody I'd like to pick their
Mhm.
brain on.
You're the first person. I've asked that question before, and you're the first person that came up with Harriet Tubman, and
Nice.
the why, the reason
Uh
behind
huh.
it is very profound. So thank you for
Uh huh.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Here's another one.
Uh oh.
What's your favorite book or movie that has had a significant impact on your life, and why?
Oh, goodness gracious. Um, Favorite book or movie. So when I was in early elementary school, I've always been a little bit of a bookworm. So, one of the books that I just vividly remember going into the library at school and picking off the shelf, just at random, that's what I like to do,
Mhm.
was Number of the Stars by Lois
Okay,
Lowry.
I know it.
And, it is a story about the Holocaust. And in particular, the story follows one young lady, one little girl. And the little girl, I guess, was around the age I would have been when I read the book. And so, again, I guess going back to a servant's heart, experiencing that book and her perspective on, the times that they were in, but viewing her parents and the way that her parents managed that situation for them as children. Again, I guess leading back to the sheltering, the nurturing, the protection, the serving,
Right.
and being a part of community, being a part
And
of
that's who you
community.
are at the
So
core.
yeah.
That's who you are at the core. I love it. I love it. Well, guys, that wraps it up for this particular episode. Maybe I can go on to Rebecca for about 5-10 minutes because I got a
Maybe.
person to ask. Her time is valuable, y'all. You got to catch her when you can. But thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on. I can't tell you how much you coming into my life has meant to me and to my business as a real estate broker. So thank you. I probably would have been one of those that would have fell through the cracks if it hadn't been for you. And I
Mm-hmm.
know sometimes people come into your life for a reason, for a season,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the right season for you to come into my life. So thank you. And this episode is
I
going
love
to mark, trying not to tear up, but this episode marks the 1 year anniversary of the Work It Live It Own It podcast. Guys, I've been showing up for
it.
over a year now.
Yay.
So I tell you guys, consistency is key. I want to thank you all for joining, tuning in, whether it's been on various podcast platforms or on YouTube. Thank you for showing up. Sometimes I felt like I don't think I could have done it, but showing up consistently for a year and the wonderful opportunities it has afforded.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys. And if you know of anyone who would glean from this type of information that I'm sharing, because I want other business owners to avoid the mistakes that I
Mm-hmm.
went through of having to
Mm-hmm.
go through 7 or 8 mentors until you
Right.
found the right one. If there was a way that I could help the world to avoid some of the hiccups and hurdles that I've experienced, and no doubt Rebecca's probably has
Mm-hmm.
experienced as well, then tune into this community, this podcast, because that's what it's all about. It's about uplifting each other and learning from each other's experiences. So thank you again. If you want to tune in to my website, it's at workitliveitownit.com. But again, I'm on all major platforms of podcast and also on YouTube. That wraps it up for this particular episode of Work It, Live It, Own It, guys. And don't forget to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives. Take care, guys.
Thank